Hi YouTube, welcome to Canning 101. Today we're going to talk about canning equipment. First thing that you absolutely need for canning is jars. Canning jars, not just any jar. Most of them are clear, but you can get some colored ones that comes in all shapes and sizes. This is a regular 8-ounce jelly jar, 4-ounce jelly jars. This is also an 8-ounce jar, but it's like short and fat. This is a pint. That is 2 cups basically. And then you have your quart. Now, you can get the half-gallon size, but unless you're canning juice, you can't can in these. It's also hard to get a canner that is tall enough, but we'll get into that later. I use these for dry storage. There are 2 mouth sizes. The mouth would be the opening. This is a regular mouth size. This is a wide mouth. When you buy a new pack of jars, they come with these rings and these flat lids. And there'll be a rubber ring on the inside, and then it's like a painted surface right there. You need jars. You also, of course, need your food. To can anything, not only do you have to have the jars, you have to have something to use as a canner. You don't have to have a specific canner if you're water bath canning. Now, to water bath can, you do need a pot or something to use as a canner to can in. If you're just water bath canning, you can get away with a stock pot, but they also do sell these water bath canners for relatively cheap. If you're using a stock pot, you will need some kind of a rack or something in the bottom. Now, if you happen to have a cooling rack that will fit inside, this works just fine. This one actually does fit inside that one. I have used it before. If you don't have one that fits, you can get these. I got this from Walmart just to have as a spare. It's silicone, it stretches, and you open it up and there's like a clippy, and you clip it to itself so it makes a circle, and you put that on the bottom. If you can't find one of those, you don't have anything else, you can use a towel. I've never used it myself, but that's what they used to use. Just put a towel on the bottom in the water. But you do need something to separate the jars from the bottom of the pot. If you are trying to do this, keep in mind whatever size jar you have has to fit on top of your rack and have enough space for at least an inch of water above it. Like in that, I can't water bath quarts in that. But it's plenty of room to do pints. But you do have to have that space to be able to use just a regular stock pot. If you get the water bath canner, it has a rack already in it, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, you also need to be able to pull the jars out of the hot water without burning yourself. You may have something that would work, but I highly recommend at least getting one of these. The rubber part goes on the jar, and because it's like rubberized, it grips really well. Because you don't want to drop these. They will be very, very hot when you pull them out of the water. You're not going to want to touch it with your hand, or even like a pot holder or anything like that, because it'll get wet and then transfer the heat right to your hand. So I do recommend getting one of these. Now, you can get like a little set that comes with a funnel, one of these. This is a magnet on a stick. literally. And this is called a debubbler. Now, this is very handy, but you don't have to have it. You could use a butter knife for the same purpose, but the end of this it's literally measurements, so you can check your headspace. But we'll get into that in another video. Very helpful, but you don't have to have it. Very helpful, but you don't have to have it. I really recommend this one, though. And you can get these by themselves as well. They're not very expensive at all. If you want to pressure can, though, you have to have a pressure canner. Now, this is a big one. You don't have to get the biggest one. This one will actually take 2 stacks of pint jars on top of each other. Some of them will have a gauge dial. Some of them do not. If it just has this metal thing that jiggles, it's a jiggler. Those are perfectly fine. And whatever comes with your canner, it should come with this is what those racks look like to put on the bottom. Doesn't need to be very much off the bottom, just so that it's not touching the bottom. These are very short racks, but this came with my first canner. I use that as a second one to double stack in this one. But they will have a canner that comes with it. Whatever kind of weight, whether it be the gauge weight like that one or a jiggler, it'll come with it. Unless you're buying it used and then don't know what it comes with. Depends on what kind it is. There's also there are styles that don't have a rubber ring in them. Like this one has a rubber ring. Most of the cheaper ones do. The All-American does not. It's got a ton of little fasteners to go on and screw down all the way around it, and there's no rubber to it. But that's another thing to check on with your equipment, is your rubber rings if you have that. Because you have to make sure everything's in working order before you can. I highly recommend having a second funnel. I do use these a lot. Now you can get funnels that are the regular mouth shape or size, if just fit inside. You can also get funnels that are wide mouth shape, wide mouth size. I feel like that's a lot smaller than that. It still works. I just have the regular size on funnels. I also recommend a ladle, because even if you're raw packing, which we'll get into that later, you still need to put water in there. And the ladle just makes it so much easier. I also like to have a small cup with vinegar for wiping the rims. I use vinegar. Some people just use a damp cloth. I like to use vinegar just to be extra safe. The other thing that you are going to need is a towel. It doesn't have to be a big towel. It can be like a hand towel. When you take your jars out, you don't want to set them on a cold counter, so you want to put them on the towel. Just another little buffer zone to keep the glass from breaking, because it will be super hot when you pull it out. Later on, I will get into the differences between pressure canning and water bath canning, but today I just wanted to cover the equipment. You don't have to get the pressure canner if you're just water bath canning. You can use a stock pot. Anyone can can something. You do need the jars and a few minor things, but most of that you probably have on hand. Jars have been harder to find this year, which is lovely, but if you can find them, you can. That's all for today. Thanks for coming along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. May the Father bless you. Shalom.